The rain fell hard on the metal roofs of the colony. It made a sound like thousands of tiny drums beating all at once. The sky was gray and angry, and the wind pushed against the small houses that humans had built on this faraway world called Kepler-442b. In one of those small houses, two children sat alone in the darkness. They were not human children. They were Velari, a species that looked like foxes that walked on two legs. They had soft golden fur, long pointed ears, and big eyes that could see in the dark. Their names were Mia and Leo, and they were twins. Mia was born first, just a few minutes before her brother, and she always reminded him of this when they argued. But today, they were not arguing. Today, they were hiding. The alarm had started an hour ago. It was a loud, screaming sound that meant danger was coming. Pirates, the adults called them. Bad people who came from space to steal things and hurt people. The colony had been attacked many times before, and every time, the children had to hide and wait for the human soldiers to make the bad people go away. Their mother had always been with them during the attacks. She would hold them close and tell them stories about their home world, the planet their grandparents had fled many years ago when war destroyed everything. Her voice was soft and warm, and it made the scary sounds outside seem far away. But their mother was not here anymore. Clara had died 6 months ago. She had been helping human families escape during a pirate attack when a building fell on her. The humans tried to save her. They dug through the broken stones with their bare hands until their fingers bled. But it was too late. Clara was gone. After she died, the human leaders did something special. They asked their best artist to make a statue of Clara. It was carved from white stone called marble, and it showed Clara standing tall with her arms open wide. That was the Velari way of saying welcome. Clara had always welcomed everyone, human or Velari, rich or poor. The statue was placed in the twins' home so they could always see their mother's face. Now, as the attack alarm finally stopped, Mia and Leo came out of their hiding spot under the floor. The house was dark. The power was out again. Leo held his sister's paw tightly as they walked through the rooms. Something was wrong. The front door was broken. It hung sideways, and cold rain was coming inside. Furniture was knocked over. Their father's old books were thrown on the floor. Someone had been inside their home. Leo saw it first. The statue of their mother was on the ground. It was broken into many pieces. The head had rolled into the corner. One of the arms was cracked in half. The beautiful white stone was now just a pile of broken rocks. Leo fell to his knees beside the pieces. His whole body began to shake. He picked up a piece of the statue's robe, and then another piece, as if he could put it back together with his small paws. "It's our dead mother's statue, but it's broken," he sobbed. The words came out broken too, just like the stone. Mia stood frozen. She could not move. She could not breathe. The statue was all they had left of their mother. They had no pictures, no videos. Everything had been lost in the first attack, the one that killed Clara. Only the statue remained. And now it was destroyed. Mia walked slowly to her brother and sat down beside him. She put her arms around him and pulled him close. Her own tears began to fall, dropping onto the broken marble like more rain. They stayed like that for a long time. The rain kept falling outside. The wind kept blowing. The colony was quiet now that the attack was over, but for Mia and Leo, the world had ended all over again. They did not hear the footsteps approaching. A man stood in the broken doorway. He was tall and strong, wearing the gray uniform of the Colonial Defense Force. His face was tired and dirty from battle. There was a cut on his cheek, and his hands were covered in dust. He had been fighting all night to protect the colony. His name was Captain Daniel Reed, and he had seen many terrible things in his life. He had fought in wars on a dozen different worlds. He had watched friends die. He had seen whole cities burn. After so many years, he thought his heart had become hard like stone. He thought nothing could hurt him anymore. But when he saw those two small children crying over broken pieces of marble, something inside him broke too. Daniel had known their mother. 3 years ago, when he first came to this colony, there was a big problem between the humans and the Valari. Some humans were angry that they had to share their colony with aliens. They wanted to fight. But Clara had stepped between the two groups. She had talked to both sides for 3 days and 3 nights. She had translated words, but more than that, she had translated feelings. She had helped both sides understand each other. Because of Clara, there was no war. Because of Clara, humans and Valari learned to live together as neighbors. Even as friends. Daniel remembered shaking her paw after the negotiations ended. He remembered how she smiled and said that kindness was the only language everyone could understand. Now her children were alone, crying in the dark. Daniel stepped into the house slowly. He made his footsteps loud so the children would hear him coming and not be scared. He was a big man, and he knew he could look frightening, especially to young ones. Mia looked up. Her golden eyes were wet with tears, and for a moment, Daniel saw fear in them. But then he held up his empty hands to show he meant no harm, and he knelt down so he was at their level. "Hey," he said. His voice was quiet and gentle, so different from the commands he shouted during battle. "My name is Daniel. I'm here to help." Leo did not look up. He just kept holding the broken pieces, his small shoulders shaking with sobs. Mia wiped her eyes with the back of her paw. "They took everything," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "And now even her statue." Daniel looked at the broken marble spread across the floor. He studied the pieces carefully. The head was still whole. Most of the body was there, just cracked apart. It was bad, very bad. But it was not hopeless. In that moment, Captain Daniel Reed made a decision. He did not know yet how much that decision would change everything. He only knew that he could not walk away from these children. He could not leave them alone with their broken mother. Daniel sat on the cold floor with the two Valari children for a long time. He did not say anything at first. He had learned many years ago that sometimes people did not need words. Sometimes they just needed someone to sit with them in the dark. The rain outside began to slow down. The clouds were breaking apart, and a little bit of starlight came through the broken door. In that soft light, Daniel could see the pieces of the statue more clearly. He could see the face of Clara, still beautiful even though it was separated from the rest of her stone body. Leo had stopped crying, but he still held a piece of the statue in his small paws. His eyes were red and tired. Mia sat beside him with her arm around his shoulders, trying to be strong for her little brother, even though she was hurting just as much. Daniel cleared his throat softly. "I knew your mother," he said. Both children looked at him. Their ears stood up straight, the way Valari ears did when they were surprised or curious. "You did?" Mia asked. Daniel nodded. 3 years ago, when I first came to this colony, there was a lot of trouble. Some humans did not want to live near Valari. Some Valari did not trust humans. People were angry and scared, and when people are angry and scared, they do stupid things. He paused, remembering those difficult days. Your mother came to help. She talked to both sides. She listened to everyone, even the people who said mean things about her own kind. She was so patient, so kind. She helped everyone understand that we were all just people trying to make a home on a strange new world. Leo spoke for the first time since Daniel had entered the house. She always said kindness is the answer, he said quietly. She was right, Daniel said. Because of her, we did not have a war. Because of her, humans and Valari learned to be friends. She saved many lives, including mine. Mia looked down at the broken statue. And now she is gone. And this was all we had left of her. Daniel looked at the pieces scattered on the floor. He looked at the face, the arms, the flowing robes that the artist had carved so carefully. It was broken, yes. But broken things could be fixed. Broken things could become whole again. I cannot bring your mother back, he said slowly. I wish I could. I wish I had the power to bring back everyone we have lost. But I do not have that power. No one does. He reached out and gently touched one of the marble pieces. But this statue, we can fix this. Leo looked up at him with hope in his eyes. It was a small hope, like a tiny flame that could easily go out. You can fix it? How? Daniel pulled out his communicator, a small device that let him talk to anyone in the colony. I know people, he said. I know artists who can carve stone and work with marble. I know engineers who can make things stronger than they were before. Humans have been fixing broken things for thousands of years. It is what we do. He looked at both children with serious eyes. I am going to make you a promise. I promise that I will fix this statue. I will make it beautiful again. And I promise that I will find the people who did this, the raiders who attacked our colony and broke into your home. I will find them, and I will make sure they never hurt another family again. Mia stared at him. The Lari could sense when people were lying. It was a gift their species had, something in the way they could smell emotions. She searched Daniel's face and sniffed the air around him. She smelled no lies. Only truth. Only determination. Why? She asked. Why would you do this for us? We are not human. We are just refugees. Daniel shook his head. You are not just anything. You are children who lost their mother. You are members of this colony. And your mother was a hero who saved my people. He put his hand over his heart. In my family, we have a saying. When someone saves your life, you owe them a debt you can never fully repay. You can only try to pass the kindness forward. He looked around the ruined house. Your mother saved many lives. Now it is my turn to help her children. The next morning, Daniel began making calls. First, he called Emma Torres, a woman who had once been the most famous sculptor on Earth. She had retired to Kepler 442b because she was tired of the noise and crowds of the big cities. She wanted peace and quiet. But when Daniel told her about the broken statue and the orphan children, she did not hesitate. Send me pictures of all the pieces, she said. I will come look at them today. Next, Daniel called Michael Park, an engineer who worked with special materials. Michael knew how to make things strong, how to join broken pieces together so they would never break again. I have a compound, Michael said when he heard the situation. It is stronger than the stone itself. When I'm done, you could hit that statue with a hammer and it would not crack. Then Daniel called his second-in-command, Lieutenant Grace Kim. Grace was good at finding people who did not want to be found. She had tracked criminals across 3 star systems for joining the Colonial Defense Force. I want those raiders, Daniel told her. I want to know who they are, where they came from, and where they are hiding. Grace smiled a cold smile. Give me a week. I will find them. Word spread quickly through the colony. People heard about the orphan children and the broken statue. They heard about the captain who had made a promise to fix it. And one by one, they came forward to help. A shopkeeper donated gold, real gold, to use in the repairs. A teacher offered to watch the children while the adults worked. A group of human teenagers organized a collection to raise money for a new door and new furniture for the damaged house. Even the Valari community came to help. Elder Thomas, the oldest Valari in the colony, brought traditional blessing oils that his grandmother had carried from their home world. Young Valari artists offered to carve prayers into the base of the statue in their own language. What started as one man's promise became something much bigger. It became a whole community coming together to help two small children. Mia and Leo watched all of this with wonder. They had felt so alone after their mother died. They had thought the world was dark and cold and cruel. But now they saw humans and Valari working side by side, giving their time and their treasure to help them. On the third day, Emma Torres came to see them. She was an older woman with gray hair and strong hands covered in small scars from years of working with stone. She sat down with the children and showed them her plan. "Have you ever heard of kintsugi?" she asked. The children shook their heads. "It is an old art from a country on Earth called Japan," Emma explained. "When a piece of pottery breaks, most people throw it away. But in kintsugi, you repair the broken pieces with gold. The cracks do not disappear. Instead, they become beautiful golden lines that tell the story of the object." She showed them a picture on her screen. It was a bowl with shining gold lines running through it like rivers of light. "Your mother's statue will not look exactly the same as before," Emma said gently. "But it will be beautiful in a new way. The gold will show everyone that she was loved. The gold will show that her family and her community cared enough to put her back together with the most precious material we have." Leo touched the picture on the screen. "The broken parts become the most beautiful parts," he said softly. Emma smiled. "Exactly. The broken parts tell the story. They show that something bad happened, but also that something good came after. They show that love is stronger than destruction." For the first time since the attack, Mia felt something warm in her chest. It was hope. Small and fragile, but growing. Maybe the world was not as dark and cold as she had thought. Maybe there was still kindness. Maybe her mother had been right all along. The workshop was set up in an old storage building near the center of the colony. It had high ceilings and big windows that let in plenty of light. Tables were brought in and covered with soft cloth so the marble pieces would not get scratched. Bright lamps were placed all around so the workers could see every tiny crack and chip in the stone. Emma Torres stood in the middle of the room with her, arms crossed, studying the broken statue like a general studying a battlefield. All the pieces had been carefully collected from the children's house and laid out on the tables. It looked like a puzzle, the hardest puzzle anyone had ever tried to solve. "This is going to take time," Emma said to Daniel, who stood beside her. "Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3. The breaks are complicated. Some pieces are very small, but it can be done." Daniel nodded. "Whatever you need. Tools, materials, helpers. Just ask and you will have it." Emma smiled. She had worked alone for most of her career. She liked the quiet, the peace of being alone with her stone and her thoughts. But there was something different about this project. This was not about art or money or fame. This was about 2 children who had lost everything. "I could use some helpers," she admitted. "My hands are not as steady as they used to be." By the end of the day, she had a team of 12 volunteers. Some were artists, some were engineers, and some were just regular people who wanted to do something good. Michael Park set up his equipment in the corner and began mixing his special compound, the one that would make the repairs stronger than the original stone. The work began slowly and carefully. First, they had to clean every piece. Dust and dirt had gotten into the cracks, and if they were not cleaned properly, the repairs would not hold. Young volunteers with soft brushes spent hours gently cleaning each fragment. Then came the sorting. Emma laid out all the pieces and studied how they fit together. It was like putting together a broken mirror, trying to figure out which shard went where. She made drawings and took photographs and created a map of the statue. Mia and Leo came to watch every day. Daniel had arranged for them to stay with a kind Valari family while their house was being repaired. But each morning, they walked to the workshop to see how the statue was coming along. At first, they just watched quietly from the corner. But Emma noticed them and called them over. "Come," she said. "Come see what we are doing." She showed them the pieces and explained her plan. She showed them how she would fit the broken parts together and fill the cracks with gold. She let Leo hold a small piece of gold wire, and his eyes went wide with wonder. "This is going to be part of your mother's statue," Emma said. "This gold is going to make her beautiful again." Days passed. The work continued. People came and went, each one doing their part. A young man named James spent 4 hours putting together fragments of Clara's left hand. A woman named Sarah carefully polished a section of the robe. An old Velari named Thomas sat in the corner and sang traditional songs in a soft voice while the humans worked. The songs were sad and beautiful. They told stories of loss and hope, of darkness and light. Even though most of the humans did not understand the words, they understood the feeling. They worked a little more carefully when Thomas sang, as if the music reminded them of why they were there. One evening, about a week into the work, Grace King came to the workshop. She was wearing her uniform, and her face was serious. She pulled Daniel aside. "I found them," she said quietly. "The Raiders. They are hiding on an asteroid about 2 days away from here. They think they are safe. They have no idea we know where they are." Daniel felt a cold anger rise in his chest. These were the people who had attacked his colony. These were the people who had broken into a home where 2 orphan children lived and destroyed the only thing they had left of their mother. "How many?" he asked. "About 30. They have weapons, but nothing we cannot handle. Their base is old and poorly defended. They have been hitting colonies all across this sector, stealing what they can and running away before anyone can catch them." Daniel looked back at the workshop, at the people working together to fix a broken statue. He looked at Mia and Leo, who were helping Emma sort gold wire by thickness. "We will wait until the statue is finished," he said. "I made a promise to those children. First, I will keep that promise. Then, I will deal with the Raiders." Grace nodded. She understood. Captain Daniel Reed always kept his promises. The second week of work was harder than the first. Now came the delicate part, the actual repair. Emma had to fit pieces together with perfect precision. If a piece was even a tiny bit off, the whole repair would look wrong. Michael Park worked beside her, applying his special compound to each crack before Emma pressed the pieces together. The compound was clear like glass and strong like steel. Once it dried, nothing could break the repair. Then came the gold. Emma heated thin wires of gold until they were soft, then carefully laid them into the cracks. She used special tools to press the gold into place and smooth it out. The gold caught the light and glowed like it had fire inside it. The first completed section was a piece of Clara's robe near the hem. When Emma finished it, she called the children over to see. Leo gasped. The white marble was now crossed with lines of shining gold. It was not just repaired. It was transformed. It was more beautiful than before. "The cracks tell the story," Emma said, repeating what she had told them before. "They show that something was broken, but also that it was loved enough to be fixed." Mia reached out and touched the gold gently. It was warm from Emma's tools and smooth as water. "It is like she has veins of light," she whispered. Word of the statue spread beyond the colony. Ships came and went from Kepler 442b all the time, and their crews carried stories to other worlds. People on distant planets heard about the orphan children and the broken statue and the community that came together to fix it. Some of them sent gifts. A captain from a trade ship brought a rare blue stone to set in the base of the statue. A scientist from a research station sent a small device that would make the gold glow softly in the dark. A group of children from another colony sent drawings and letters wishing Mia and Leo well. The twins read every letter and looked at every drawing. They pinned them to the wall of the workshop until the whole wall was covered with colors and words of kindness from people they had never met. Why do they care about us? Leo asked one day. They do not even know us. Daniel was there when he asked this question. He knelt down to look the boy in the eyes. Because that is what good people do, Daniel said. When we see someone hurting, we want to help. It does not matter if they are human or Valari, if they are near or far. Pain is pain, and kindness is kindness. Your mother understood this. She helped humans she had never met because she knew it was the right thing to do. Now humans are helping you for the same reason. Leo thought about this for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Mother would like this, he said. She would like that humans and Valari are working together. Yes, Daniel agreed. I think she would like it very much. The statue was almost complete now. The body was whole again, held together by invisible compound and decorated with flowing rivers of gold. Only the head remained to be attached, the final and most important piece. Emma prepared for this task with great care. The head had not broken, but it had separated from the neck cleanly. The repair would be visible, a golden ring around the neck like a collar of light. The night before the final repair, Emma asked the children to come to the workshop alone. She had something to show them. She led them to a small table in the corner where something was covered with a cloth. When she removed the cloth, the children saw their mother's face looking up at them. The marble eyes seemed to be looking right at them. The stone lips seemed to be smiling. Even broken from the body, even lying on a table, Clara's face was full of love and warmth. Tomorrow, I will attach this to the body, Emma said. Tonight, I wanted you to have a moment alone with her. She left the workshop quietly, closing the door behind her. Mia and Leo stood before their mother's face. They did not speak. They did not need to. They simply stood there together, remembering her voice, her laugh, the way she used to hold them when they were scared. Tomorrow, she would be whole again. Tomorrow, the statue would be complete. But tonight, in the quiet of the workshop, surrounded by drawings from children they had never met and the fading smell of gold and stone, Mia and Leo said goodbye to the broken pieces. Tomorrow would be a new beginning. The statue of Clara was finished on a bright morning when the sky was clear and blue. Emma Torres placed the final piece, the head, onto the body with hands that did not shake even a little bit. The golden ring around the neck caught the sunlight and blazed like a crown of fire. Everyone in the workshop held their breath as the compound dried and the head settled into place. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Emma stepped back and smiled. It is done, she said. The workers cheered. They clapped their hands and hugged each other. Some of them cried. They had worked for 3 weeks, day and night, to complete this task. They had given their time, their skills, and their hearts to fix a broken statue for 2 children they barely knew. Mia and Leo stood at the front of the crowd, staring up at their mother's face. The statue was more beautiful than they remembered. The gold veins ran through the white marble like rivers of light, crossing the robe, the hands, the neck. In the morning sun, Clara seemed to glow from within. She looks like an angel, Leo whispered. Mia took her brother's paw and squeezed it tight. She always was, she said, but there was still work to be done. The statue was complete, but the raiders who had broken it were still free. Captain Daniel Reed had not forgotten his second promise. That evening, Daniel called a meeting of his best soldiers. They gathered in the briefing room at the military base, a gray building at the edge of the colony. Grace Kim stood at the front with a map of the asteroid belt displayed on the screen behind her. The raiders are here, she said, pointing to a small rock floating in the darkness of space. It is an old mining asteroid, abandoned years ago. They have turned it into their base. There are 32 of them. They have weapons, but their defenses are weak. They have grown lazy because they think nobody can find them. Daniel studied the map carefully. What is our plan? We strike fast and hard, Grace said. 3 assault ships, 20 soldiers. We hit them at night when most of them are sleeping. We take control of their base before they can organize a defense. If everything goes well, we will be done in an hour. One of the soldiers raised his hand. His name was Brian, and he was the youngest member of the team. Captain, why are we doing this? Is it really worth risking our lives for a statue? The room went quiet. Everyone looked at Daniel. Daniel stood up slowly. He walked to the front of the room and faced his soldiers. Let me tell you a story, he said. When I first came to this colony, I was tired. I had been fighting for so long on so many worlds that I had forgotten why I was fighting. I thought my heart had turned to stone. I thought nothing could touch me anymore. He paused and looked around the room. Then I met a Valari woman named Clara. She was kind and patient and wise. She helped our colony survive a crisis that could have torn us apart. She saved lives, human and Valari alike. And she never asked for anything in return. His voice grew harder. Clara died 6 months ago protecting human families during a raid. She left behind 2 children who had nobody else in the world. And when those raiders attacked our colony again, they broke into her home and destroyed the only thing those children had left of their mother. Daniel's eyes were cold now, cold like the space between stars. We are not doing this for a statue. We are doing this because those children deserve justice. We are doing this because Clara deserves to be honored. And we are doing this because as long as those raiders are free, they will keep attacking colonies and breaking families and making children cry. He looked at Brian directly. That is why we fight. Not for glory. Not for money. We fight to protect people who cannot protect themselves. We fight so that children can sleep safely at night. We fight because it is the right thing to do. Brian nodded slowly. I understand, Captain. I am ready. Good, Daniel said. Then let us prepare. We leave at midnight. The assault was quick and brutal. 3 human ships dropped out of hyperspace near the asteroid and launched their attack before the raiders knew what was happening. Daniel led the first team through the main entrance, while Grace took the second team through a service tunnel. The raiders fought back, but they were not prepared. They had grown comfortable in their hiding place. They had forgotten that humans were hunters who never forgot and never forgave. When someone hurt their own dot in 45 minutes, it was over. 23 raiders were captured. 9 were killed when they refused to surrender. The leader, a scarred man with cruel eyes, was dragged before Daniel in chains. You are making a mistake, the leader snarled. Do you know who I am? Do you know who protects me? Daniel grabbed him by the collar and pulled him close. His voice was quiet and dangerous. I know exactly who you are. You are the man who attacks helpless colonies. You are the man who steals from people who have nothing. And you are the man who broke into a home where 2 orphan children lived and destroyed their mother's statue. The leader laughed. A statue? All this for a statue? They are not even human. They are just animals with fur. Daniel did not get angry. He did not shout. He simply looked at the man with eyes that had seen war across a dozen worlds. They are our neighbors, he said. They are our friends. Their mother was a hero who saved human lives. And you made their children cry. He pushed the leader back toward the waiting soldiers. Take him away. He will stand trial for his crimes. The raiders were taken to the Colonial Justice Authority. Their base was destroyed. Their ships were seized and given to the colonies they had robbed. The money they had stolen was returned to the families who had lost it. But for Daniel, the real victory was not military. The real victory was waiting for him back on Kepler 442b. When he returned to the colony, he went straight to the workshop. The statue of Clara stood in the center of the room, covered with a cloth to protect it until the unveiling ceremony. Workers were building a special pedestal for it in the central plaza. Mia and Leo ran to him when he walked in. They threw their arms around him and held on tight. "Thank you," Mia said. "Thank you for keeping your promise." Daniel hugged them back. He thought about all the battles he had fought, all the enemies he had defeated. None of those victories had felt like this. None of them had felt so right. "I made 2 promises," he said. "One is done. The statue is finished. Now the second is done too. The raiders will never hurt anyone again." Leo looked up at him with wide eyes. "You found them? The bad people who broke our house?" "Yes," Daniel said. "They will be punished for what they did. They will spend many years in prison, and they will have time to think about the pain they caused." That night, Daniel sat alone on the roof of the military base. He looked up at the stars and thought about Clara. He thought about how she had believed in kindness, in understanding, in bringing people together. He hoped she would be proud of what they had done. They had fixed her statue with gold and love. They had brought her community together. And they had made sure that the people who hurt her children would face justice. The stars were cold and distant. But Daniel felt warm inside. He had kept his promises. Tomorrow, the whole colony would come together to unveil the statue. Tomorrow, Mia and Leo would see their mother standing tall again, decorated with veins of gold that told the story of a community's love. Tomorrow would be a day of celebration. But tonight, in the quiet darkness, Daniel allowed himself to rest. He had done something good. He had made a difference in the lives of 2 small children. And that was enough. That was more than enough. The day of the unveiling was the most beautiful day anyone could remember. The sky was clear and bright, and a gentle wind blew through the colony, carrying the smell of flowers from the gardens that the Valari had planted years ago. It was as if the planet itself knew that something special was about to happen. The central plaza was filled with people. Humans and Valari stood side by side, shoulder to shoulder, waiting together. Children sat on their parents' shoulders to see better. Old people sat on benches that had been brought out just for them. Everyone wanted to be there. Everyone wanted to see. In the center of the plaza stood a tall pedestal made of dark stone. On top of the pedestal was a shape covered with white cloth. It was the statue of Clara, waiting to be revealed. Mia and Leo stood at the very front, just a few feet from the covered statue. They wore their best clothes, traditional Valari robes that their mother had made for them before she died. The robes were silver and blue, the colors of hope and memory in Valari culture. Captain Daniel Reed stood beside the pedestal. He was wearing his dress uniform, the one he only wore for the most important occasions. His medals gleamed on his chest, but they meant nothing to him today. Today was not about him. Emma Torres was there too, standing with her team of artists and helpers. Michael Parks stood beside her, and Grace Kim, and all the others who had worked so hard to make this day possible. Thomas the Elder was there with his blessing oils. The teenagers who had collected money. The shopkeeper who had donated gold. The teacher who had watched the children. They were all there. And beyond them, at the edges of the plaza, were people from other colonies. They had traveled for days to be here. Strangers who had heard the story and wanted to see the statue with their own eyes. Daniel stepped forward, and the crowd grew silent. 6 months ago, we lost someone special, he began. His voice was strong and clear, carrying across the plaza. Clara was a bridge between our peoples. She was a translator, a peacemaker, a friend. She believed that kindness could overcome any difference. She believed that humans and Valari could live together, not just as neighbors, but as family. He paused and looked at the crowd. When she died, we lost something irreplaceable. But her children remained. Her legacy remained. And when their home was attacked, when the only thing they had left of their mother was broken, something happened that proved Clara was right all along. Daniel gestured to the people around him. This community came together. Humans and Valari, artists and engineers, soldiers and shopkeepers. We came together to fix what was broken. We came together because that is what Clara would have done. That is what she taught us to do. His voice grew thick with emotion. Today, we return to her children something that was taken. Not just repaired, but remade. Because that is what we do. That is what humans have always done. We take what is broken, and we make it whole. He looked at Mia and Leo. This statue belongs to you. Would you like to do the honors? The twins walked forward together, holding paws. They stopped beside the pedestal and looked up at the covered shape. For a moment, they did not move. The wind blew gently, making the cloth ripple. Then, together, they reached up and pulled the cloth away. The crowd gasped. The statue of Clara stood in the morning light, and she was glorious. White marble glowed like snow in the sun, but it was the gold that caught everyone's breath. Rivers of gold ran through the stone like veins of fire, tracing every crack, every break. Every place where something had been destroyed and then repaired with love. Clara's arms were still open wide in the gesture of welcome. Her face still smiled down with kindness and warmth. But now she wore her history on her body. Now everyone could see the story written in gold. The story of being broken and being made beautiful again. The blue stone that the trade captain had donated was set into the base, catching the light. The small device that made the gold glow was hidden inside, waiting for nightfall when it would make Clara shine in the darkness dot around the base. Valari prayers were carved in flowing script, blessings for the dead and hopes for the living. Human words were there too, carved by Emma Torres herself. They said simply, loved, remembered, made whole. Leo began to cry, but they were not sad tears this time. They were tears of wonder, of joy, of gratitude too big to fit inside his small body. She is beautiful, Mia whispered. She is so beautiful. An old woman in the crowd, a human woman who had never met Clara, who had come simply because she heard that children needed help, wiped her eyes and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. That is humanity for you, she said. We break things sometimes. But when it matters, when someone is hurting, we will move heaven and earth to make it right. People nodded. Some laughed through their tears. Some hugged their neighbors, human and Valari alike. Elder Thomas came forward with his blessing oils. He was very old and moved slowly, but nobody rushed him. He climbed the steps to the pedestal and poured the oils over the base of the statue while singing a Valari prayer. The words were ancient, passed down through generations, from a homeworld that no longer existed. But the meaning was clear even to those who did not understand the words. It was a prayer of thanks, a prayer of memory, a prayer of hope. When Thomas finished, he turned to the crowd. Clara walks now among the stars, he said in his soft voice. But she is still with us. She is in the kindness we show each other. She is in the bridges we build between our peoples. She is in every act of love that makes the broken whole. The crowd was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, people began to come forward. They wanted to see the statue up close. They wanted to touch the gold veins that told the story of a community's love. Mia and Leo stood beside the statue and greeted everyone who came. They shook hands and paws. They accepted hugs from strangers. They said thank you so many times that the words began to lose meaning, but they kept saying them anyway because they meant everyone. Hours passed. The sun crossed the sky and began to set. The crowd slowly thinned as people went home to dinner and rest. But Nia and Leo stayed. When the plaza was finally empty, Daniel came to stand beside them. The three of them looked up at the statue as the sun painted the sky orange and pink. "I have to ask you something," Daniel said. "I have been thinking about it for a while now." Mia looked at him. "What is it?" "You need a home," Daniel said. "A real home, not just a place to stay. I know I am not Valari. I know I cannot replace your mother. But I was wondering if you would have me, if maybe I could be your family." The twins stared at him. Leo's mouth fell open. Mia's eyes went wide. "You want to adopt us?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "I've spent my life fighting. I thought that was all I knew how to do. But these past few weeks, being with you, helping to fix the statue, I have learned something. I have learned that there is more to life than battles. There is love. There is family. There is making things whole." He knelt down so he was at their level. "I do not know if I will be a good father. I have never done it before. But I promise to try. I promise to protect you and care for you and love you for as long as I live." Leo did not say anything. He just threw his arms around Daniel and held on tight. Mia stood still for a moment longer. She looked at Daniel, and then she looked up at her mother's statue. The last light of the sun was catching the gold, making it blaze like fire. She thought about what her mother would say. Clara had always believed in second chances. Clara had always believed that families could be made, not just born. Clara had always believed in love. Mia stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Daniel too. "Yes," she said. "We would like that very much." The sun set behind them, and the small device inside the statue began to glow. The gold veins lit up softly in the growing darkness, making Clara shine like a beacon in the night. Years later, when Mia was grown and had children of her own, she would bring them to the plaza to see their grandmother's statue. She would tell them the story of how it was broken and made beautiful again. She would tell them about the humans and Valari who worked together, about Captain Daniel Reed who kept his promises, about Emma Torres and her golden repairs. And she would tell them the lesson that her mother had taught, and that the statue now told to everyone who saw it. Kindness is the answer. Love can heal what is broken. And sometimes a family is not the one you are born into, but the one that finds you when you need it most. The statue of Clara stood in the plaza for centuries. Colonies rose and fell. Wars were fought and won. Humans and Valari grew so close that the old differences barely mattered anymore. But the statue remained, and every child who passed by learned its story. The story of golden seams. The story of a community's love. The story of how something broken became the most beautiful thing of all. Because people chose to care. Because that is what humans do.